Okay, and we are live again. Welcome back, Joseph. I kind of cooked my graphics card a little bit. It's a good graphics card, but I cooked it a little bit, I think, by broadcasting to too large of a TV. So we are back, and we will be hopping into the next game promptly. Apologies, of course, for the inconvenience. But you know, the games we've gone through 5 games so far. They're super good. Especially, I've loved the last two because my guy Gajamada has come back a little bit. For any people who are just barely tuning in for the first time, we're casting an Age of Empires 2 tournament. And you can watch the first part in a immediately preceding video. Our live broadcast went down temporarily. And we are back, and let's get into the game. 14, start the game already, right?
That's actually a really fun part of the gameplay. When you open up the chat window, there are numbers that you can type in that generate audio, that trigger audio calls through the chat. So you enter the chat, you hit 1, you hit enter again, and then that says yes, and 2 is no. And there are some oddly specific ones that never get used, but there's a few that are very meme-worthy, and 14 is start the game already, and it's quite fun. All intended in good humor.
Yep. Okay, so we have started the game already. We are in Cup. And it's speeding up to live time. Cup is another map that was designed specifically. Do you mind if I go through the map a little bit as we blast through the Dark Age at 80 miles an hour? This is another map that T90 designed specifically for the tournament. It has a lot of interesting strategic dimensions. Contrary to many maps, you always start, the players always start in the exact same positions. Starting in the exact same positions. You've got these two ponds in the middle. They're actually separated by land. So taking one pond doesn't mean that you take the other pond. You have to choose one or the other, or else invest in both. But controlling one pond doesn't give you control over the other pond. This is terrain that you can walk over and sail over. So as you can see, there's land military and water military. You get up to lifetime. And Vasco da Gama has gone into both land military and water military. If it is Hera, Hera loves to scout cap, so that may be a tell. On this upper, it's called cut because you can kind of see that the lakes are in a bit of a cut shape. And on the upper portion, you've got this extra gold that becomes quite important to control in the long run. Now there is some other resources scattered over the map, including some extra gold. But really, that cut portion ends up being pretty important. So, you know, like all cut maps are intended to be, it's very strategically dynamic. There's lots of options. There's lots of good options. And it just allows for a lot of varied gameplay. I'm also hearing that my echo is pretty bad, so let me tweak another audio setting. Horrific?
Well, it seemed all right to me at the moment, but then again, I'm talking to you through Discord and not through the stream.
Let's check that. I just tweaked the setting, and chat can tell me.
Another thing to mention.
Hopefully
another thing worth mentioning about these islands or these the ponds, this terrain that we can walk over, this water covered with tree branches, I think they call it mangrove, cannot be built upon. So even though you can move land units over it, which makes the battles really interesting, the matchups very interesting, you cannot build walls or any other.
You can build on the mangrove terrain. You can.
Wait, what?
Yep, you can.
Okay, that's fascinating. Are we going to see a castle in the water?
We occasionally do. I don't know, but it is truly hybrid terrain. You can do anything on water on it, and anything on land on it. As we see,
the echo still is now much worse than it was a moment ago.
Well, that's a problem. Let me tweak some more settings. Better, worse? Better, worse? That's a problem. Yep, that echo was so bad that I could hear it. Say something again.
Just because he has the 3 fire ships versus the 1. Interested to see how the scout cavalry balance that.
Okay, I'm going to try that for a second. We're going to see if it works. Nate says that's better. I hope that he's talking about what's happening right now. We will see.
Please keep us updated.
I didn't. It says still echoing. I didn't think I changed any settings.
Sounds good to me. Cat, can you guys confirm? Personally, I think it was the death of a couple of fishing ships. We had a major advantage go to Gajimata for a minute, and he took out a couple of fishing ships very quickly in the northern pond. Oh, you're right. We can build on the water. Vasco da Gama is building a house in the mangroves. Yes, please. Gajimata is being fairly slow. Vasco da Gama has beaten him pretty solidly getting into the Castle Age. So I think we're going to start seeing a boom from Vasco da Gama that is going to cascade into an advantage. I think that's a solid strategy. It looks like he's setting up for something very much like that. We've got 4 light cav forward, and we've got a mangonel that's 81% complete at the moment. And if he gets through, there's no good defense other than the TC. The TC is the only thing that's able to put out fire at the moment. We could see some spears, but we won't see enough of them. Not going to help against... Oh, he made it through! Oh, there's a little... What is this fortified church thing? But it shoots! So it's like a castle, mini. Does it cost stone? Are you kidding? Dude, that's like cheat codes. That's incredible. Dear chat, can you hear Joseph Fisher? Oh my word. We're slowly going to get this figured out. You know, practice, whatever you practice, you get better at. And, you know, we're practicing, so we're going to get better at this. Mr. Benjamin Fisher, can you confirm whether or not JF is muted? I can hear him. I can hear him just fine. You probably think I'm just talking to myself, like a crazy person. Yes, and that raid has gained next to nothing. Man, that fortified church turned the tide. That was very well positioned.
Yes.
Okay. Is there an echo? Oh.
Ooh, and we've got Gajamata Knights currently removing a monastery. Ooh, that's going to be good.
Okay, let's try this.
Night battle. Both are producing knights. Gotta love those Khmer knights. The eco is neck and neck. The army is neck and neck.
Okay, I have returned.
Position is recently fortified. Welcome back.
In the words of Douglas MacArthur, I have returned. Okay. Here we go.
Gajamata's in a position to poke through whatever little wall Vasco da Gama has. He just doesn't have enough military to push in any way in that direction.
The cast was actually better when it was just Joseph Bjork, but I am back. Sorry. Okay, yes, you're actually casting the game like we should be. But I don't know. It seems like maybe Gajamata has stabilized a bit. He's got some knights out. Like I said, they're not great for Armenians, but hey, they're knights. They're there. They'll be able to do some defense, and it looks like the push is stalled out a bit. Eco's dead even. I think he's stabilized. And now I wonder what the next move is. And the next move is Gajamata has 2 knights on the mining camp.
Ooh, that's fun. Yeah, Vasco da Gama doesn't have a lot of defense right now, but he hasn't needed it up to this point just because Gajamata has had absolutely nothing to push with.
Now's a good time to mention, as he bops a couple of villagers, there's a quirk that Khmer can have. They can actually, they're the only civ that can garrison villagers inside of their houses. And so, one thing that Vasco da Gama hasn't gone for... Oh, yep, there we see it, right here.
Oh, he did.
That little flag, there he goes. So what he could do is he could build a house right next to that gold, and then when the knights come over to raid, he just, whoop, pops right into the house and he's safe. As Vasco da Gama goes for a third TC.
Those fire ships can start taking out houses.
Yep, that's true too. And I think the water control might hurt Vasco da Gama long term, especially for that key gold area. We'll have to watch that as we keep going. And I don't know if I saw Atonement come in, which allows monks to convert monks.
Is making conversions. We've converted 2 villagers over. Now the eco score is
traitors.
3 points behind for Gajamata. Yeah, they're running away to join the enemy.
You gotta kill. Oh, is he gonna just convert them? He could just convert them back. I don't think he's going to, though.
He's aimed mostly at the knight.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Expensive.
The knights are
100 gold apiece.
Yeah, the monks are expensive units. Now, if you can use them to convert expensive units, it's all worth it. It's more than worth it, right? These knights cost 135 total resources.
Reward.
So if you can convert a knight with a monk, even if you lose the monk, it's still a net benefit to you. Even if you lose the monk. And if you keep the monk alive, then it's a huge swing. And it looks like Gajamata's going to clear this up, probably. More upgrades for the Cavan monks coming in. And the demos.
Armenians, do they get the ability to convert buildings?
Yes.
What is that, Atonement?
They have, that one would be Redemption.
Redemption.
And they have a very strong monk tech tree. So I actually don't know, but I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. Now's a good time to mention, by the way, one of Tato's sort of tells, one of his sort of distinctive features as a player is that he loves his demo ships. He loves his exploding ships. And he's got 2 in the queue, and he's
We're
like...
about to lose a villager from Vasco da Gama being chased by a wolf. Got a little drama right here.
Are we getting boo-boo-booed?
This poor lady. She's going to get eaten. No!
She's dead.
No!
She's dead.
She's gone.
One more.
Made it way further than I thought she would. Yep. She's dead.
Rip.
Gone.
Look, the woods are a dangerous place, man. The woods are a dangerous place.
Have a blacksmith shop yet? Vasco da Gama is building a blacksmith shop. Is that the first one?
I think it was. He may not have had it. And he's going for them now.
Oh, my word.
So,
my word. No upgrades on any of those knights.
Sorry, I said Tato. I mean Gajamata. He had those demo ships in the queue. Right, and I would love to see him build a dock here on this lower pond to control it as well with demos. You know, demos like monks are kind of a swingy unit. If you can land a demo in the middle of like a big clump of knights like that, you can get incredible value. Sorry, as I zoom in on Gajamada's knights instead of Vasco da Gama's knights. If you land a demo on a big group of knights like this, you can get incredible value.
Yep, not wrong. Light cavalry have less armor. Are they faster than knights, or are they?
They are faster. They are faster. Weaker, but food only.
Okay, so they're very much a raiding unit.
Also an anti-monk unit. And Vasco da Gama is up to some truly scary numbers of knights.
I'm seeing 21. One little army. Oh, 22.
And you start wondering if Vasco dives with these knights, what's Gaja's defense plan?
I'd go for this palisade in the south and then go up and start eating villagers.
Yeah, it definitely feels like he could pressure. I guess Gajamada's sort of balancing out the knights, the knight numbers. As Gajamada starts branching out, goes for a TC on that important long-term gold position. Super good, super strong.
Oh, yeah.
And we take a fight. Monks behind. And Gajamada doesn't want to take the fight.
He does, he just wants to take it under a place that can shoot.
He dances, yep. And he deletes. He thinks he can take the fight. He doesn't have as good numbers, actually. I don't know about this, man. Is this a good fight? Upgrades are pretty equal. This is not a good fight for Gajamada.
This is not going to win. What? Gajamada's about to lose.
Tato, what are you doing? Tato! Not like this!
He lost the advantage. He took the fight outside of the range of the town center. If he had taken that closer to the town center, it would have been fine.
He might have been able to,
would have been much more manageable.
Okay. So Tato in a defensive posture now. Honestly, and if Vasco da Gama is Hera can be a cautious player. He can be that way. But if I were him and I knew what I know watching, I would dive right now under those TCs. I 100% with the second armor upgrade, able to give you good arrow resistance. I would dive under those TCs right now, and I don't think Gajamada would be able to stop it.
I think he's waiting to build health. If you look at the health of those knights, about half of them are less than half.
Healing up. I think even with the lower HP, he could do it. I really think he could. And he's got the outpost. He probably knows. Is he a knower? Does he know about that TC? He does not know about that TC yet.
He's got more than a 20 villager advantage right now in eco. Pretty significant in army. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a GG in the next, 30 seconds to a minute.
And Imp is in for Vasco da Gama. It feels a little bit like. And remember, we're at 3-2. We're at 3-2. This is this is a best of 7. This could be the last hurrah for Gajamada, for the great Malaysian statesman who does not eat spiced foods. And he did give us a couple spicy games, but this is rough. And he's nowhere close to Imp. And Vasco has resources for days. As soon as he gets to Imp, he's going to click the armor. He's going to click Cavalier. He's almost got enough stone for a castle. And he's going to come forward and drop it right here, is my prediction. Outside the Palisade Gate. And then he's going to win the game. And I'm trying to think back and wonder, where did this slip away for Gajamada? Was it that one bad fight? And he does have his defensive castle, but that's just going to get trubbed down. Oh, and okay, interesting. Okay, so unexpected. Vasco's building the castle in a safe place. He doesn't want to put it forward. Maybe he doesn't know. He doesn't know that Gajamada is nowhere near Imp. Gajamada is light years away from Imp. Imperial Age is in another galaxy for Gajamada. It is not attainable. But Vasco da Gama doesn't know that. So it looks like he's building the castle in a safer place.
Ooh, we've got some quick walls.
Feels like he could
knights. Oh, never mind.
Feels like he could be braver. And Gajamada's getting the raids, and that's nice, but I just...
advantage.
Oh my goodness. Okay, yep, okay, I'm blind. The raids are good. The idle time is good. This idle villager count is great. Like, that's all fine for Gajamada, but I just look at this and I'm like, how are you going to hold on when Cavalier comes in? How are you going to hold on when those Imperial Age blacksmith upgrades come in. How are you going to hold on when Vasco da Gama has the option to go into trebuchets, has the option to treb down your castles, and you're stuck in the Castle Age? Can he hold on that long? I don't know, man. I don't know.
Forward.
Well, Gajimata does not agree with you and me. He thinks he's still in it. And part of that maybe is because he knows if he loses this game, he's out of Hidden Cup 5. Right, this is the last hurrah. This is the do or die moment. So you really probably don't want to resign until you are 100% sure that you're dead. and he's only 80% sure. He's only 80% sure.
Don't tap early. Don't tap early. Oh, and the Paladin upgrade has come through.
Cavalier, but
no,
yeah.
Cavalier.
And they're diving. And there's going to be 40 of them. And there are only 13 Castle Age Knights for Gajimata. And he's clicked up to Imp. But how is he going to... There we go.
That was
GG.
it.
Well played. Good luck next. And it's true. It was well played from Vasco da Gama. Right. It felt like...
Well done. It was a very clean game. Very patient. He had that army waiting just outside the walls for ages, trying to decide exactly where to hit and how.
Mm-hmm. And maybe if he takes my advice and dives when I say he should dive, maybe he loses too much under the town centers. Maybe he doesn't have that commanding position in Imp.
Well, you need to make sure you have all the letters for dive, because if you only get to the first couple of letters, it doesn't end well.
Yeah. That V is so important, because otherwise you die.
It is.
Mm-hmm. Well, congratulations to Vasco da Gama.
Victory.
And when you say clean and patient, I do think of the #1 player in the world right now, who is Hera. He's Canadian. He's living in Argentina right now. He's gotten very, very, very good over the last couple of years, and really, he's #1 in the world right now, I think, by most people's ranking. And when you think patient, when you think clean, like, Hera is that way. And we even saw that in the cup game that he lost, right? Where he sat back, he was patient, he went on 4 town centers and said, come break me. And often when Hera plays that way, right, his opponent cannot break him. Hera's very strong on the defense. In that game, it turned out that Gajimata actually could break him. He was like, okay, I'll break you. And then he broke him. But in the long run, it was Vasco da Gama comes out ahead on the set. I'm a little gutted because I really wanted Gajimata to come through. If it is Tato, I love Tato. Gajimata has been a great player. His Hidden Cup 5 run is to the end. And Vasco da Gama will be going to the finals tomorrow. Dive. Peter G asks, what is dive? What dive means is, it is kind of a funny... There are so many little like verbal quirks in the Age of Empires 2 community, right? Like boom, which means to expand economically. To dive, what is sort of short for dive under the town centers, right? So Gajimata has these town centers here that when garrisoned, fire arrows, right? And you've also got the castle, which fires arrows. So if Vasco da Gama takes his units and comes in like this, he's diving under the TCs, he's diving under the castle, he's diving under the arrow fire, and he says, fine, you're going to be able to hit me with arrows, but I'm going to be able to do so much damage along the way that it's totally worth it. And so, you know, if you dive at the wrong time, right, like it's, you know, you're exposing your units to risk. It's that, you know, high risk, high reward play. And if he had dived earlier underneath the TCs and taken a bad fight, maybe, you know, maybe we would not be looking at the 4-2 scoreline, but we are. So I hope that helps. And please, if we say other quirks, like there are some things like, for instance, I realized I kept saying boom. Of course, no one knows what boom means. What does boom mean? That doesn't make any sense, right? It's an explosion? No, it's economic expansion. You boom up on 3 TCs. You boom up on 4 TCs. Is the phrase that's used.
And TCs are town centers.
Yeah.
If the acronyms get into it too, and we have.
I did it again, Joseph. I did it again.
Cavalry. There's just a lot of it. I mean, when you're in it, you're in it.
Yeah.
I appreciate the questions. Thank you.
Yep. We'll do our best, of course, to answer. It really is it is its own community, and it is a great community. And as we've said, it's, you know, probably one of the healthiest gaming communities around, if we're being honest, and not intending to be disrespectful or rude to anyone else. But it probably is. It do be like that, I think.
Even unranked. So I mean, I'm not a particularly good player, but you can. There's multiple ways to play online with people. You can set up for just a random match, and you really have no idea what you're going to get. It's just whoever happens to be online at the same time. But they also have a separate system called the ranked ladder. And for this, they built a ranking system that's loosely based off of the one they use for chess. And everybody enters this ranking system at 1,000 ELO is the score. And then if you lose a game, you lose some ELO points. And if you win a game, you gain some ELO points. And eventually, the algorithm figures out how to match you against players where you have roughly a 50% shot of winning. And the community is really, really good. It's really good. It's very respectful. Unfortunately, if you start playing ranked games, that means that you're going to lose your first few games unless you're some kind of prodigy, which I am very much not. But, you know, worth doing. Worth doing. Absolutely worth doing. Most of the time I end up fighting robots with a small group of friends. Sometimes I'll sit and we'll play, my wife and I will play a game.
Yeah, and you and I play. It's good times. I've played with some of the people in the chat. Somebody asked earlier, Joseph, you asked in chat if people would be interested in a good and basic Discord, and I interpreted you to mean a general one that also had sort of like an AoE2 segment, and there was some interest in that. So I think we ought to do that and post that probably.
Yeah, in the not too distant future, there might be a YouTube video associated with that.
So. No, none of our viewers know this, but, and I hope you don't mind me saying, but we are both sort of under the influence. I'm under the influence of not that much sleep, and you're under the influence of some
dental surgery.
Dental surgery, yeah, and the meds after that. So you mentioned that you don't know what your stamina is going to look like. Now, so we'll have to see about that. There's one more set today. Today is the semifinals, and now is probably a good time to talk a little bit more about the event. Great event, and I also need to show you all. Joseph wanted me to show this to you. My spreadsheet. Okay.
You've watched every single game of this tournament.
So, yeah, I've watched every single game in the main event, and let's see. I want to capture. Sorry, I'm gonna have to set this up, but I want to show my spreadsheet for you all.
My spreadsheet.
Oh, I just got an echo at your end. I hope that's.
Yep. No bad.
Okay. All right. No, you're good. I just didn't touch anything, and I was fearful that I had blown something up again. Let's do a window capture. And I'm going to show everyone all the hero names and all the players that have been in this 16-player event that has been going on since last Sunday. Okay, and all right, you should all be able to see my. Right, this is the cork board with like red yarn going everywhere to push pins, right? Absolute madness, and that's what I've got here. I've got all the players, and Gajimata is now out, so I'm going to cross out his name. But what I've done here, and sorry, Joseph, obviously I'm not sharing this with you. You'll have to tune into youtube.com/goodandbasic to look at this, I'm afraid. But
I can see it.
Okay, good. Right, so I've got it all color coded. I've got the bracket set up. It's not totally obvious how the bracket is set up, but Vasco da Gama played Pachacudi on the first day. I wrote down how their micro was, what strats they went for, what civilizations they seem to prefer, what maps they seem to prefer. Some players hate islands. Many players hate islands. Some are more comfortable on open maps. Some are more comfortable on closed maps. What colors they pick in game. Certain players sometimes pick different colors. And this is one of the huge fun things about the tournament is that all the players are hidden. Right, and so as you go through, not only do they not know who they are playing against, and the casters don't know who is playing, but the viewers don't know who is playing either. And so you're trying to guess, okay, like, who is Samangaru? Does he look more like a Hera? Does he look more like a Viper? Is he more like an ACCM? Is he a Doubt? And let's see, I think I haven't updated a few of these. Alexios Komnenos last night beat Jan Zizka. So rip John Žižka. And the second semifinal today, I tried to color code them eventually to see who would be against who. So yesterday, Gajamata beat Otto the Great, which was a banger of a set. And Khosrau beat King Stephen. And now the second semifinal today is going to be Khosrau versus Alexios Komnenos. Khosrau, an ancient Persian king, and Alexios Komnenos, a Byzantine king. And I think this one's not a historical matchup. I think Alexios Komnenos and Robert Guiscard was an actual, real historical matchup. So the second semifinal today is Khosrau versus Alexios Komnenos. Right now on the main stream, they're on a break in between, which we will either do and keep casting, or else I have a brother here who plays Age of Empires 2, and there's a possibility that we might cast together, or we may call it. So those are the decisions that we have to make as I display for you the majesty of my of my conspiracy theory tracking spreadsheet, right? Somebody resigned late. Somebody resigned late. What does that mean? What does it mean?
It's interesting because with this kind of data, you can start to quantify some of these reputations that players have. Do they actually leave early? Do they actually leave late? Like, we can start to quantify all this reputation.
Yeah, so I ought to talk a little bit about two of the players that people are most confident about.
Please do.
And they are both right here on my screen. One is Otto the Great, and the other is King Stephen. Both are out of the tournament, but these are the two guesses that I think the community is just really, really confident about. Could not be anyone else. Just couldn't be. And Stephen is a player, King Stephen, we are pretty sure, we're just very sure as sure can be, is a player called Doubt. And what he's known for, he's one of the oldest players in the game. He's like 35 or something, has a few kids, lives in Serbia or Croatia. I think Serbia. Which is another interesting thing about AoE 2, is it has a very large international community. And things that are distinctive about him, sorry, you can't see the spreadsheet, pulling back the spreadsheet. Things that are distinctive about him, he has much worse micro than other top players, but he has killer strategy and killer macro. He has killer economy management. He's very good at those things, very good at the strategy decisions. So he kind of says, no, Mikarin, you're right. I just moved it back. There was a black screen. Guys, I was playing with some stuff, playing with some settings, which is what I should not be doing, but I did it. But it is back on screen now. So King Stephen, right, the big tell, there were a few tells. He picked some civs that are pretty unusual, like Koreans and Goths, which are not typical tournament picks in many ways. But he cooked up some good strategies with them. He picked the two new civs, Armenians and Georgians, that have mule carts. Only civs that have mule carts, and that allows you some sort of interesting economic options. And he picked those in two different sets. He picked both mule cart civs. Right, the number after it is sort of the number of times that I noticed it happening. The forward castle. There's a thing in the community called a doubt castle. Doubt says, I place castles to win games or lose games. So he'll often get a very large number of villagers, like 20 to 40 villagers, just YOLO them forwards, put down a castle, this very bold castle, and he'll often fail to do that. But if he gets the castle down, then that it's typically in a strong position that will either bring him back from a really bad position or else win him the game outright. But he often fails them, and so if you get a half-built castle but it's ultimately denied and doesn't go all the way up, it's often called a doubt castle. And yes, he did have several of those. King Stephen had several of those. He also does a lot of market use. And then another one of the tells, and this is like a highly technical thing. This is super nerdy, okay? So gear up and put on your glasses. But at the beginning, on most maps, you have two boars near your town center. and you take them back to your town center and you take food from them, and it's free food and it comes in fast. It's very important. Hey, Nate, thanks so much for the tip. That is so kind of you. It's hugely appreciated. That's very kind of you. So you have your 2 boars, you bring them in, you get the free food. That's very important in the early game. Now, in like the last year or two, pro players came up with this cool trick where the boars attack your villagers, and so your villagers can die, and that's really bad in the early game. But the trick is you garrison a certain number of villagers in the TC, and you shoot down the boar and weaken it. And then you pop the villagers out of the TC, finish off the boar, and then you take the food, and then your villagers aren't in as much danger. Now, it's a great trick, but it is a very risky trick, and here's why. If the boar is killed by villagers outside of the TC, you can take the food. If the boar is killed by arrows from the town center, you cannot take the food from the boar. It's just a quirk in the game. It doesn't generate food on dying. You could even call it a bug, but it's the way it's always been. It's the way it's been for the whole 25-year history of the game, as far as I know. It's not like a new thing. It's just what it is. It's just what it is. So the risk with doing this the risk when you weaken the boar with the TC is that if you garrison too many villagers, or your micro on ungarrisoning the villagers to finish off the boar is not perfect. If it's not perfect, you might accidentally kill the boar with the TC, lose all the food, and that's a lot of food in the early game. It's disastrous. And the pros are usually very good at it. And King Stephen yesterday failed and accidentally shot the boar with his TC and lost all the food on it. And that just felt like the kind of thing that Doubt, with his, slightly weaker execution and micro, just felt Doubt, man. Felt like the kind of thing that would happen to him. And then the other thing that I mentioned to you, and it's not here on my chart, but he went Korean Cav Archers. And this is another sort of semi-technical thing. Cav Archers can be a very strong unit, and he loves his Cav Archers. Doubt loves his Cav Archers. And they can be very strong because they're mobile, they're powerful, they're tanky. There's lots of great things about Cav Archers. Just ask the medieval Europeans when the Mongols steamrolled them, right? Europe has always been threatened by cavalry archers coming in from the steppes. And that's true in Age of Empires too. Cavalry archers can be very strong. But Koreans don't really have good cavalry archers. And he went Korean Cav Archers. And I told Joseph prior to getting on the stream here this morning, when we were talking, I said, I would be willing to bet that in the 25-year history of Age of Empires 2, yesterday was only the second time, and the first time was another tournament with Doubt in it. Yesterday was only the second time in 25 years of competitive Age of Empires 2 in which a player made more than 3 Korean Cav Archers in a game. I would be willing to bet. And that's another thing that you just look at and you're like, okay, King Stephen, you're Doubt. We know what's going on here. We know who you are. Come out with your hands up. So that's been fun. McCarran says in the chat, also, this is the last stream I was expecting to find Hidden Cup on. Well, welcome. Very glad to hear you. And you also commented, no matter how weird it sounds, that may have lost Doubt the game. No, yeah, and I agree. And that 340-ish food in the early game is really important. And, like many things in life, if you go off to a bad start, it can be really hard to come back. And it was, I actually don't remember for sure if he lost that game. But it sounds like he probably did. I'm sorry, some of the games are blurring together in my brain. I'll talk briefly about Otto the Great. He's another player called MBL. Very chaotic player. You notice I put chaotic twice here in the quirks. He also has some other. You need to go watch the Otto the Great versus Gajamata set yesterday. Wildly entertaining, absolute chaos. Just truly crazy stuff. There was one game where he just casually wandered a villager forward across the map, just sort of exploring. MBL is a player who sort of finds out what he's going to do. He's like the Joker, right? He doesn't really plan, he just does things. And he snuck a villager all the way into the back of Gajamata's base. All the way into the back, hidden. And so Gajamata is just like casually playing. He's ready to go forward. He's ready to play the game like a normal human being. And then boom, there's a stable and monastery in the back of his base. There's a no, I don't think there's a tower. Just kidding. There's light cav diving on his gold. There's monks converting his villagers on the woodline. And not Vasco da Gama. King Gajamata must have been like, what on earth? How did you get back there? You're in the farthest place on the map, in the back of my base, the farthest place possible from where you started. How did you get there? And that is the kind of game that MBL plays. He plays chaotic, messy, strange games that are, really fun to watch. From a viewer perspective, you kind of wish he had gone through, and we would be seeing some really chaotic and entertaining games. But if you want to see those chaotic and entertaining games, go to T90's channel and check out the previous games. Otto the Great played Jadwiga, historical matchup, by the way, Polish Princess Jadwiga and Holy Roman Emperor Otto the Great. They played in the round of 16, and then yesterday he played against Gajamata. Both, just phenomenal sets. So entertaining. Really fun to see. We really think it's MBL. It feels too obvious to not be MBL. Really fun to watch him play. So those are the two guesses that I was most confident about. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk about and looking at my beautiful corkboard with push pins and red yarn, and I promise we're going to catch the killer any day now.
Probably tomorrow. When after the tournament is over, do we get the final reveal of the names?
It's immediate. It's immediate. So as soon as the finals are played live tomorrow, there will be an interview live on T90 stream with the winner. And then immediately after that, they will reveal all the players, compare it to everybody's guesses. It will be the great reveal. We'll find out that King Stephen and NBL are not who we thought they were. We'll find out that Vasco da Gama is not Hera. And these guesses, often the guesses are good, but they're often wrong too. They're often wrong. And I have my doubts. I believe that the next semifinal we're about to see Viper versus, I think Hart. A lot of people think Leary is actually Alexios Komnenos, and I think that's reasonable. I don't know for sure. But I think we're about to see Viper versus Hart/Leary, but I don't know. We'll find out about 28 hours from now.
Awesome.
Okay,
when the next rounds start, the next games?
Let me briefly, I'm going to mute my desktop audio, and you can all tell me if you can still hear me. And gonna just take a quick look at T90's channel and see what's up. Okay, nope, you should still be able to hear me. I'm seeing voice signals. That's good. Okay. It's always so nice when things happen the way you expect them to. Looks like they are still on break. And I really highly recommend. So I'm so grateful and glad and flattered that human beings would be interested in listening to me and Joseph York talk about this 25-year-old video game. And I think it's wonderful. I think it's so cool. I think it's so fun. I'm happy to be here. I'm grateful that some other folks are here too. I need to recommend that you go check out T90's channel. He's the host of the tournament. There will be a link in the description. But he is on Twitch, and he's also now on YouTube. YouTube is where I've been watching him over the last few days. Cast Hidden Cup 5. And there has been so much production that's gone into this tournament. Videos about the historical figures, highlights, videos explaining the quirks and tendencies of certain of these players, and they all have such great personalities. So I really want to encourage you to go check that out. But anyway, the point is we're still on break. I don't see a timer, so I'm guessing we're on break for another probably 10-ish minutes. And I think if we want to keep casting, I will probably take a quick bathroom break and also eat something. Does that sound good? And we'll reconvene in a minute? Or what do you think? Okie dokie. folks, I'm going to leave it on my spreadsheet. I'm going to leave the screen on my spreadsheet. That also means that anyone who comes into our channel right now will see a spreadsheet on screen and really just wonder what's going on. I'm going to leave it down on Kos Rao and Alexios Komnenos so that you can see a few of their quirks and a few of the things that they usually do. Did I put Korean Cav Archers on the wrong one? I may have put Korean Cav Archers on the wrong one. Okay. Anyway, but we are pro-casters. We are pro-casters because Natekus very kindly tipped us $5. That means we are paid for our work. We are pro-casters. So with that, Joseph, let's take a quick break, and we will be back in just a few. All right, folks. I am back. And unfortunately, I'm the bearer of bad news, probably. The bad news is, as mentioned earlier, Joseph is recovering from dental surgery. Other Joseph is recovering from dental surgery and is a little bit woozy. And also, I am not recovering from dental surgery, but I am a hair woozy too. It's been a really busy week for me. It's been a really busy week for me. And I have not slept a lot. And I'm just concerned about my coherence for another 3 hours of talking, much as I would enjoy it. So what I'm going to do is the exact same thing that I recommend each of you do, and that is to go find T90Official on Twitch. It's twitch.tv/T90Official. Or you can also find him on YouTube. You should be able to find him pretty easily by searching. I think it's probably youtube.com/T90Official. /@T90Official. Okay, there we go. youtube.com/@T90Official. Anyway, so you can watch him there. He's casting with a French player right now, a French player named Margugu. And what they are casting is, I'll pull up my spreadsheet again. They are casting Khosrau, Persian King, which, by the way, I have a personal connection to Khosrau, actually, if you can believe it. And the personal connection is there's a piece of Persian poetry called the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. And it's, very, very, very old. And it was translated into English by an Englishman named Edward Fitzgerald. And I have large portions of the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam memorized. And Khosrau is actually featured in the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. Ke Khosrau Ruz, Badadar Jam Af Kanad, is how it sounds in Farsi, except for I'm mangling it. But it's roughly like that. I've spoken to a couple people who speak Farsi, and they've coached me a little bit, but mostly badly, let's be honest. I'm just not... It's hard to learn a new language. It's hard to learn a new accent. But Ke Khosrau Ruz, Badadar Jam Af Kanad. The king something something with a wine so fair, something something the morning light and snare. Thank you, Natekus. Natekus says, get better, both of you, as in get well, not do better. Well, thank you both for the clarification. We both hope to do both of those. We hope to get well and do better always. So thank you, but thank you either way. So Khosrau is this Persian king. And by the way, the historical video about him on YouTube, or on T90's YouTube channel, fascinating. Probably my favorite historical video about any of the heroes in this tournament. Khosrau, we think, is the Viper. And the Viper, until a year or two ago, was not only the top player in the world, but he is the greatest Age of Empires 2 player of all time. He, for like a 5-year period, he won every tournament. At one point, there was even a tournament called Who is Number 2? And he was not invited. And the whole purpose of the tournament was just to say, look, we all know who's going to win. But who's number 2 in the world? We know who's number 1, but who's number 2 in the world? That's how dominant the Viper was. And a lot of people think that Khosrau is the Viper. So we can expect an absolute banger of a set. Alexios Komnenos is a little bit more of a mystery. I thought in the round of 16 that he was probably a Peruvian player named Hart. And yesterday, though, he was very, very, very sharp in the quarterfinals when he beat John Žižka, famous Bohemian religious figure in the Hussite Wars. He was very, very precise, very sharp play when he beat John Žižka. So a lot of people started to think that he was Leary, who is another exceedingly talented player, probably like top 5 in the world, probably. Depending on who you ask, depending on the settings. And so I think in Khosrau versus Alexios Komnenos, I think we can expect some insane micro, and I think we can expect just some very, very, very powerful play, particularly from Khosrau. He's my favorite to win the set, but Alexios was better in the quarters than in the round of 16. So if he's on an upward Ascent, he'll be better today in the semis than he was against Khosrau. Anyway, that set is actually starting, so I commend you all to the channel of T90. Yummy Pichu in the chat says, no, also get better at AoE too. No, not sarcasm. This is true. I can have fun in the meantime, but that's another thing I could, want to get a little bit better at. At some point, we'll do a community post, I anticipate, about a Discord, and if you want to play some games with us, we could all have some fun together. Thank you so much for tuning in. Fun to talk to you, fun to see your reactions. So fun to talk about this game, talk with Joseph about strategy. So deep, so interesting. Once again, I commend you all to T90Official, the sponsor of Hidden Cup 5 on Twitch and on YouTube. And I hope you will go do right now what I am doing, which is watching the semifinals. Second set, Khosrau versus Alexios Komnenos.